waiting for Devin to get us going on. Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Senior.
Chris Jr., as always, here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. I feel like it's certainly been a while for me.
2 weeks,
Two weeks, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Been traveling, been doing some work, been also, trying to get back to being 100%. Yeah, I know. It's been a little while.
Because you blew us off the first time.
I almost feel like a guest. But hey, I'm excited to be here and do that. Yes.
Yeah, man.
Devin Tender. Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. I'm sorry, I'm a little out of breath.
How old are you?
You tell me about it.
Getting a workout in.
It's going to be a great show today. We're going to be talking about our youth and violence. And I'm sure we have a lot of opinions on that. Got a new plug, though, for the documentary we shot yesterday.
An awareness, I would say, video plug, part documentary, part, episodic, unscripted. Seeing my dad with his acting chops.
My acting debut. So now maybe my son will give me a plug. Maybe I'm ready. I'm ready.
I need more practice.
Without a script. He knows I'm ready.
You did your thing, right?
I'm ready.
You said kind of went in there, unscripted, and just flew. But I don't see that being a problem for you. I feel like just kind of give you some guidance.
But I'm just making my big break. I got, I'm like, hey.
I ended up being in the video too.
I
was shocked, and appreciated being in there and kind of sharing some of my unscripted experience as well. But that's exciting.
I can work with just getting credits for the first movie. Just, I have a certain, I gotta have a certain letter.
You know what, though?
Certain size font, but
I really might have something for you, like have you do some voiceover work too. Okay with that?
I'm cool with that, man.
And then we get you started there.
I don't know. I had a presence. I felt like I had a presence.
I had a presence.
I commanded the presence yesterday, man. I was like, yo.
But no, I'm definitely anxious and excited to see how that project turns out. This is important. I don't know if we can share too much about it.
Well, actually, he posted on Facebook. I didn't know. I was looking. Yeah, he posted official. Well, basically, the project that we were on is about prostate cancer awareness in men, and it was a scene shot in the barbershop. And it was pretty cool. We had a great time, man. So I'm not gonna go forever deep into it.
No, but I did like the idea of just it was one, educating people on prostate cancer and making sure you're getting checked out, and then two, kind of just almost tackling the idea of barbershop talk and maybe having that as a place of having some different conversations. Yeah,
and I want to go back and have a show from there and get more guys and talk about some of the stuff because I think it's a great atmosphere. I did. I had a good time yesterday, man. Like I said, it was my my debut. Because first I was kind of hesitant. I was like, man, I really want to do this, man. You know what? No, because sometimes you got to realize, man, that you just got skills.
So anybody that thinks that I'm cocky,
and they just
this is where I get it from. This is where I get that confidence from right there.
I was ready to roll. No script, made my own lines up. Let's go. Let's do it. But anyway, so joking aside, hey Wayne, what's up, man? This is a topic that's very near and dear to me. And I will tell you what stirred it up, and that's why I was glad you brought it up. It was crazy because it was a shooting on a bus stop.
And a couple of them.
Well, no, this one in particular.
Northeast?
Old Guys Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody took a still picture. So bodies are laying in the street on the sidewalk, and the cops are doing the thing. And these three young dudes on their cell phone like nothing happened. Mm. Now, they weren't a part of it, so let me make that clear. So you saw the picture. But just the fact that they were unmoved by what was unfolding around them. And obviously, he walked up afterwards. But it was almost, I don't know. I couldn't take my eyes off of them. How it was like business as usual.
And I think that's another reason why I wanted to really kind of have the conversation tonight, because I think we're beginning to be a little bit desensitized to gun violence and like kind of that example, what you said, that image of where it's just people on their phones or they taking pictures, they taking videos. Like I don't even think if I was in that situation, I would have the presence of mind to be like, let me get my phone out and record.
Well, and the thing about it was they weren't recording. They were just having the kind.
I know. I'm just saying that's what some people do.
If they were calling people, but just being unmoved, that you just walked up and the gunshots. They still the shells on the ground. They got the things you see on TV and bodies laying there, and they just like, hey. And that was, and for people just signed on, we're talking about violence in our youth. And it's crazy because they're not, and it's funny because even though the number of homicides are down, the number of youth homicides are up, and they're saying more youth die now for the first time in the history of this country, more youth die by gun violence than by automobile accidents.
And I think that's something that I was going to reference to say is that gun violence is down in certain areas. But I think we're seeing it a little bit more prevalent in our youth and in our kids, where I saw today, Devin, you were talking about that shooting in Northeast.
Yeah.
They actually found the 4 suspects. 3 of them got arrested. And one is still out on the loose, 17 years old. The other people, 18 or whatever.
Well, they were talking about the barbershop. Remember they were telling us in the barbershop yesterday before we got finished shooting.
I just saw another story where it was like in Marion, I want to say that's in Indiana or something like that. A 13-year-old shot a 24-year-old trying to rob him at a gas station.
But the thing that amazes me is, and I'm going to step on some toes saying I really don't care, but we got politicians meeting today to make TikTok illegal. I'm like, is that really what we're... I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, I mean, I get it, but that's not the most pressing thing. Like, you won't ban automatic weapons, but you want to ban TikTok.
Come
on, man. Give me that.
I'm going to say... social media is certainly a factor in this nowadays as well. Like, you hear stories of where that's kind of where it starts or originates for some kids. Like, just kind of those conversations back and forth online and taking it to the next level or the extreme of like now they think they're going to end somebody's life.
But that's treating the symptom and not the cause. That's part of it. So I'm saying
I don't think that's the reason why they're banning TikTok, but I'm just saying it's certainly a part of it.
But my point is why are you focusing on TikTok when we got gun? When you won't ban automatic, we know why. But I'm saying you wasted the taxpayer dollars. You need to ban TikTok. We get people order you won't ban automatic weapons. You won't even pass sensible gun laws. Where there had to be a waiting period and maybe psychological profile. Because I always say this: if somebody needs to buy a gun right now and buy 100 rounds of ammunition right now, something is wrong.
Yeah,
that you can't wait. And that's a red flag. And the point I'm saying is because gun violence is real and it's getting worse and worse. And I'm really starting to question: are the numbers really down, or is it how they report it? Because it seems like every week, every week, every week, and it's just Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We know Chicago, all other cities.
I watch the news
it's out of control.
Different areas, and it's certainly something that's happening in a lot of our inner cities. In New York, they got the National Guard up there in the subways now,
and state police.
Because some of the violence that's in there. I think it's a matter of time, right? They actually had the National Guard for the bus shooting in North Carolina. In Northeast.
So let me throw this to Wayne and Gary would put something in the chat box. So what do you think of some of the causes? I got plenty of stuff to say. But what do you think?
All right. So if I'm being honest, and again, sometimes I still listen to some of the music, but it's really, I feel like rap music is a huge cause of why. Mm-hmm. The reason why I'm saying that is because you listen to some of your favorite artists, and what are they only talking about now? It's only 2 subjects:
drugs, killer.
Yeah, those are the only things. The thing is to pop up a Percocet and go what they call do a drill.
Yeah,
and
that's why I don't take it.
It's a whole genre.
That's why I don't take
it makes you kind of like desensitized to that feeling. And another thing people don't want to talk about is like game, and I don't want to get on video game creators and different things like that, but certain games like the Grand Theft Autos of the world, it's not solely on them. You should be able to separate realism in video games, but at the same time, a lot of kids get desensitized to a lot of different things like that because you could go on and just take someone's life. When you learn that when you're younger, you don't realize the real consequences. They kind of treat it like a Grand Theft Auto, like, oh, I'll just get out of jail and I'll be all right.
Gary says extreme gun violence is a reflection of our deteriorating society. And I agree with that. But and I got tons to say because I'm in school working with these kids, but I just find myself, I'm intrigued by it because your mom looks at a lot of TV. She looks at a lot of old black and white
I
TV.
rewatch. Oh,
No. So what I'm getting at is, looking at it now, those shows were just as violent.
Yeah.
If you look at the cop
And
shows,
they be saying some stuff. I'm like, whoa.
Columbo, murder, she wrote. People dying every episode. It was all about murder.
Say that today.
It was all about murder.
Yeah.
So even if you look at some of the cartoons are very violent.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear you, but why is it such a huge difference now that that's having such a large impact now? Is it, to your point, because we know more because of social media? Because we found out now right away. There's no waiting 6 weeks before they hit the newspaper. You found out right away when stuff happened.
Well, I think Mr. Wayne made a good point. The parents, where they are in these, where are they in these young men's life? And I think that is certainly a contributing factor. Is like just home life. There's no guidance. There's no presence of telling you like what the consequences may be, or how to handle a situation like that, or deal with these type of emotions. And like they just kind of ignore consequences or don't even really see it. Because I think a lot of these kids, they kind of just glorify the idea of going out and doing these things. Like Devin said, it's in the music, but there's nobody letting them know, like, man, you pull that trigger, you're impacting a number of people's lives. That family, of course, that has to deal with that grief. And then for yourself, you're throwing your life away, like not even giving yourself an opportunity to really grow and kind of experience life. I think some of these young men, and then you see it sometimes in the ladies too, like they starting to get a little bit more violent. But I think that it's just a lack of having just a presence around letting you know right from wrong, or how to, again, deal with emotions or people that you don't agree with. They just automatically take it to that level of, I'm going to shoot you. It's crazy. People don't even fight no more.
But that's the crazy. And I know I agree with everything you said, but it still takes. My question is, then where do we go wrong with parenting? Where do we get? Where do we get to the point where and I agree with what everybody's saying. It's just I'm trying to drill a little deeper. I have a whole bunch of theories, but I'll get to them later. But I ask these questions because I think these are questions we all should be asking. These are questions that before we get into banning TikTok and social media, let's get to the root cause. And if it is parenting, because one time, I think about 2 years ago, and people got upset. They were talking about passing laws where they were going to hold parents responsible for things their kids do.
They should. And that's a question I was going to ask, or just kind of toss out there. Is like, I mean, where do you think some of these kids are getting guns or weapons from? Of course, it probably happens out on the street, but then you find or hear the stories where it's people just irresponsibly having weapons in the house, or they just kind of letting their kids do or have a free for all.
But believe it or not, that's the minority. A lot of these guns are coming from the streets. Like, for instance, there was an 18-year-old guy they arrested from in Cheltenham, I think it was last year, who was running his very own gun range. And he had his 16-year-old brother working for him.
Crazy.
He had a bunch of minors working for him. And I forget where they were getting the guns from, but he had access to guns, and they were putting them in the neighborhood. So, but this goes back to how do we get to a point where is such lack of respect for life, not just their life, but human life in general. How do we get to the point where, because like you said, it's 4 layers to this thing.
It's a lot of layers.
Person, I mean, for the actual crime, is the person who commits the crime, the person who the crime is committed against, is their family, and the person who committed the crime, their family. Mm-hmm. But they never think about that.
Yeah.
But even society as a whole, and I go back, why is it? And I know because of money, but why aren't we louder? Why aren't we more vocal about getting laws changed? Why are we more, like, for instance, and I know this was going to get me in trouble because somebody said, yeah, man, it's just the evil spirit of violence. Now, I agree to a certain extent, but I also agree it's a lack of us doing what we're supposed to do, whether it's parenting, whether it's understanding that parent is not happening and put resources in school, in schools, to develop that part of it, or maybe maybe we do need tougher, not that it's enforced. Because when I was growing up, you had to be 18 years old to buy a certain record in a video game. I don't even know if they still enforce that now. So how do we get here, and what's some of the possible solutions?
I feel like so many things have changed in society over time. Like, I know you mentioned, having older shows that did incorporate or have violence, but I just feel like nowadays things are a lot more glorified when it comes to that. Again, Devin mentioned the point of music. And then I'm even just thinking about like TV shows, like Every show that come out now is about drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, what you got to do to get in power and get to the top. And like, I'm not sure how many shows were like that at that point in time. Like, when you were growing up, kind of giving that Scarface vibe. But like now,
Scarface.
I know. I'm just saying, like, Scarface for sure.
I mean,
but I'm just saying now is you got BMF, you got Power, you got Snowfall, you got all of Top Boy, all of these shows that really kind of, in a way, it'd be like showing you how to do some of this stuff.
It's a good point because maybe we couldn't relate because there weren't a lot of black shows. But there were shows like the Untouchables with the mob and the mafia, and there were different shows you would see, but it wasn't a lot of people look like us in those things.
But now all the shows that look like us have those elements of just violence, drugs, sex.
But see, the thing that troubles me is, and I'll flip it from another side, is I get all that, but where are we as a society that we're blind to it, and and we're deaf to it. Again, you're talking about banning TikTok, but I don't hear anybody sitting down strategizing, and not just coming up with a plan and funding the funder plan is how we can start to tackle this stuff. That's the part I don't hear, but I don't even hear us demanding it, whether it's the church, whether it's grassroots organizations, I don't hear anybody demanding it. I don't hear anybody saying, let's get to the meat of this. When can we start coming up with some funding and solutions? Because I agree with you, it's not happening at home. So why don't we bring people into schools and start teaching it?
It's a lot of. I feel like with that, it's a lot of selfishness because people will say, "Oh, that's not my child out there," or "That's not my little cousin out there doing that." So why do I have to worry?
For some of them, it is.
But you know what? This is what I say to them. I guarantee you, a lot of those kids who got killed, who were good kids, some of their parents probably thought the same thing. It doesn't have to be your kid though. Because your kid's not the one pulling the trigger. So it's not about, well, it's not my kid. Our kids have to live in this world.
Yeah.
It's like when you were coming up, I did the best I could to shield you, but I know I couldn't put a cocoon around you because you still got to go in the world. So even if you have this little circle of a few people, the rest of it is gaining. The rest of it is growing. The rest of those same people multiply. At some point, you got to deal with them. You can't just, unless you want to go somewhere and nobody's ever going to leave the house and you going to put up a 6-foot fence with a moat and dogs and alligators. You can't separate yourself from what's happening in the world.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a few comments that we got that have came in that I wanted to kind of address and highlight. Just one, just kind of speaking of the immaturity of parents nowadays. A lot of parents want to be your friend. They want to be cool. They're not willing to have some of those tougher conversations. And I think seeing, a couple conversations that people have had with their kids, you're talking about college and goals and the future and painting this picture of possibilities where I think, in a lot of our youth that find themselves in this situation, they don't see a way out. They don't see anything potentially where, they have any other option other than to respond or act within how they are in that environment. And I definitely think, that lack of maturity and having your parents or some type of figure to kind of give you some guidance is killing our youth, like literally. And then you got the point of like, who is actually raising our kids? It's the television. It's YouTube and social media, which again, TikTok and Instagram. So it's like, it's a lot of different factors, and I think layers to this situation that we're going through as a country.
But most of them, and this is I got to push back a little bit, only because I used to think the same thing. But I got kids in my, some of the kids in the group I'm working in, they're smart kids, and they have jobs. The problem is they're followers. They're involved. They get involved in stuff and don't even know why they're involved in it. One cat was like, they don't like my friend. So what they got to do with you?
But I mean, that still goes to the point. It's like, all right, who's your mom or dad? Who's that figure in your life that is giving you some guidance or counsel? It don't matter how smart you are if you don't have somebody that is.
No, but I say they're followers. In some cases, like
it's easy to be a follower if you don't have somebody that's kind of.
But there's a couple kids who have that at home. I'm talking to these kids. For some reason, they just being dumb. For some reason, to your point, they're being led by the people who don't have that at home.
Yeah.
But they just, for some reason, they feel like they got to follow them. And I don't know if it's, well, I know part of it is, and we talk about is this whole description of manhood has been so distorted.
Mm-hmm.
And respect is another thing which I hear, but they don't even have the true definition of respect. Once like, man, well, they disrespect me because she asked me to take her hat off. So I was okay. Let's break this down. You think that was disrespect, but you don't think it was disrespectful that you cussed her out. You don't think it was disrespectful that you called her all these names that you shouldn't have called her. So I said, not only were you disrespecting her, what do you think people think about you other than your peers when you're doing that? So you're disrespecting yourself more than the person that asked you to take your hat off.
I mean, and that just made me think a little bit of just kind of maybe there's a lack for self-accountability and self-love in so many ways, where you can't even look at, what you're doing. You're just kind of on the outside pointing fingers and blame.
But okay, let's dig into the love part because I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But my pushback on that is if you don't know what love is, you do. It's like when I counsel couples. And I sit down, the first question I'll ask them, I give them both a pencil and a piece of paper, write down your definition of love. Somewhere between 85 and 90% of the time, I get two totally different definitions. So if your definition of love is different, what's the basis for love? What loving yourself look like? Because sometimes America says, you're cocky.
Yeah.
You're arrogant. You're conceited. Just because you do love yourself. I think I use Jalen Hurts as a perfect example. When they were going to the Super Bowl, he was the greatest leader in the world. Everybody wants to follow him, man. And he gave the quotes. Everybody was saying the quotes. A year later, they lose. Now the quotes don't mean anything. He's full of himself. Now he's not a quiet leader. His paycheck messed him up. He's conceited. So I'm saying that's how thin that line is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly. I think society doesn't necessarily make it easy for you to love on yourself. But I think that's certainly a big key of why we see and find so many people lost.
It's funny because
a lot of our youth, honestly.
Ricky Waters used to be a running back for the Eagles. San Fran, he got to the Eagles pretty much at the end of his career. He was still good. And I remember they were having a losing season, and he was in a contract year. He was going over the middle, and he did the alligator arms. So they asked him in the press conference, like, what are you doing? He said, yo, dude, we're not going anywhere. He says, well, yeah, but you're supposed to play your hardest and sacrifice your body. He said, for who? For what?
Sacrificing your body.
But my whole point was, and back then that was a big deal. Now you see it all the time. Load management in the NBA. So, and he said, I love me some me. And they killed him because of that.
Baby. I love me some me.
So even with T.O. So again, what's the balance there? Because most people, and I challenge adults, they don't know what love is. They think love is a feeling. It's strictly a feeling or strictly emotion. And if you don't know what that looks like, how do you love? And I'm not defending.
No, actually, and that is actually a perplexing question to think about. If you don't have that love at home, which somebody, Mr. Wayne brought up that point. There's no love in the homes today. How can you learn to love yourself?
And Gary's right. They shouldn't have children.
It's like, how do you kind of figure out, what that even looks like or feels like?
One of the questions I ask the kids now on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, is how much do you love yourself? And you'd be surprised how many kids don't say 10. Or when they say 10, don't know what that means. Because I'll quickly ask them, well, if you love yourself, why are you putting yourself in harm's way? If you love yourself, why you continuously keep making stupid decisions? And again, I think most of them have a strong infatuation with themselves. Some of them just don't care about themselves. But most of them don't know the definition. I guarantee you, I had a conversation with a young lady at work today, and she's divorced, and she was saying the same thing. When she got married at 21, 22, she thought she knew what love was, but she didn't. So my thing is, if you don't know what it is, how do you love yourself?
Yeah, and I that again, you said something really kind of, I would say, provoking to me in terms of kids not even necessarily knowing or understand the difference between having love for yourself and just kind of being infatuated with yourself, and then the idea of like if you love yourself, man, why are you constantly putting yourself in harm's way? And I think, again, that's automatically a telltale sign right there to me that people got it misconstrued on what it is to love themselves, or they wouldn't be doing some of the things that they do.
And I think
they would value their life and not be like, yeah, I'm going to take this chance of going to prison and getting locked up. Even though, again, that's another thing. I think part of it, too, is just kind of the glorification of some of those things. People think that, like, prison is a box to kind of check off. You know what I mean?
Well, these kids, some respect.
Well, these kids don't say that into their credit. They just don't fear it. That's the problem. They don't say, like, I used to be around people who thought it was credibility, but they don't have a fear of it. That's the scary part. Yeah. They don't have a fear of it. They think, and I say think because they don't know because they're not there. They think that I'm built for that, and they're not. You're not even built for lunch detention. But so that's part of the issue. Other part of the issue is, and I do want to get into some solutions, is, are we, the part of society that knows right and do right, are we modeling the right thing before them? Have we written them off? Have we just accepted that this is a generation that's going to be cutthroat, going to kill each other, man, and we just hoping to isolate them in whatever neighborhood they're in? They're not going to come to my neighborhood, to your point. Have we done that? Because, Wayne had a good point, Chris, how do you get that love? I think you start showing people that love. And I'm not saying you put yourself in harm's way. And when I sit down and talk to these kids in the school, man, we have our conversations. I don't go in there with predetermined,
you're going to jail.
I don't go with my
start giving out the stats.
I listen to them. And I think for some of them, that little act right there shows respect.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Because at least you're listening to it and you're not too busy. I was talking to a friend of mine and, a pastor, he said, and we were having this valid point. Sometimes we get so busy in church, worrying about the kid who walked in taking off his baseball cap that we forget about him.
Yeah. I mean, but
we forget about him.
And I think that kind of goes across and beyond church. I think that happens just.
I just use that example.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying that's a great example.
You're wearing a ski mask.
Yeah, it's like they automatically kind of write you off, and it's almost like they don't want to deal with you in some cases. And I think that is another reason why our youth is so lost.
But how? And I say this because there's some kids I'm working with, and their parents have threw their hands up and said, "Mom or Dad, I can't deal with this anymore." So, to them, that was people who's supposed to love them. That was people who. I'm just saying that's when you're born into that situation. The anticipation is that your parents are going to love you. That's a big hurt piece. I'm not making excuses. The second part of it is now the rest of the adults in my life do the same thing. They cut me off when I do something, and this is sad. They don't correct me and tell me what I need to do right. They just cut me off. It goes back to the baseball cap analogy. Instead of saying that, I'm just glad your brother came to church. If I work with him, he'll learn to take his hat off. That's all I'm concerned. You'll take your hat soon you walk in the door. And we have to do a better job. And if I look at these youth, I'm talking to some of these youth, I was amazed how smart they are. How some of them are, they have goals. Mm-hmm. Their decision making just doesn't line up. Like I'm talking to one dude and he got it all planned out. He's working somewhere, single mom, gets his mom's car. He take extra shifts when he can. But she's doing what she can for him. And they go to church. She's doing what she teaches for him, man. And, he wants to be an engineer. Got all laid out and everything. However, dude, these choices you're making right now don't add up to that. So that's the part where I think it gets confusing at. Because there's another dude's a manager. He's a manager of the place. In high school. So he ain't no dummy. But his choices are not lining up to what he wants out of life. He wants to be an electrician. He wants to have his own business. But his choices are not lining up.
One thing that you said earlier, just kind of even, I guess, related to the idea of kids not fearing prison as much as they used to back in the day.
Or cops.
Or cops, yeah.
Or dying.
And I think those things are drastically different from, I think, when we were growing up a little bit. Like, prison had some fear to it. They used to do scare straight. They used to take you in there and, show you what you... I know, because now it's like you going in there, it's like, yo, that's my homie. Like, oh, man, yo, my uncle in here.
I had a group of kids in Camden 2 years.
But I was just saying that to make that point of it's not looked at the same way.
But I had a group of kids in Camden a couple of years ago when I was doing some work for the other organization. and going through some violent things, middle school kids. So I brought in these soldiers, these ex-soldiers who saw people die, thinking they would tell them about it. Man, these kids was like, "Yo, man, we've seen death before." They were laughing. They weren't scared.
I mean, do you think that's the thing too? Is like these kids are seeing a lot more.
Well, go back to it. They were they on their phone just like you. I've seen people be more upset when dogs, animals get hit. These are human, and they just and I want to go back to this whole thing because I think we don't really have enough time to dig into it. But this is really becoming an epidemic. Yeah. This is not, and this is not one of them things, man. This is going to go by, it's going to pass. It's a fact, when it's going to change because styles and stuff change. No, and when they explain to us what happened, and I'm not going to go into details because this is secondhand information, but somebody was explaining to Chris and I at the barbershop yesterday because they had relatives who was close to the situation. It was because somebody laughed at somebody.
Which is crazy.
So somebody goes up to school, shoots 8 people, fired 30. And the thing that got me was broad daylight. Got out of the car and didn't care who saw them.
So I think it's just getting so brazen and crazy, like broad daylight.
Cameras everywhere.
People is elderly, kids, all types of people around. And it's like just no regard for life whatsoever.
Wayne says I didn't have both parents growing up. I was angry a lot of the time. I had to make, I was joking about that the other day. I had to make the right choice to not follow people. And I think that goes back to my biggest concern is that we have raised a generation of followers. That we have some of these kids. Because I was amazed when I started talking this. I thought I was going to be talking to kids who were not doing well in school. You know what I mean? A sense of hopelessness. I thought that was going to be most of them. But it's not. If you sit down and talk to them, they'll tell you things they want to do. I want to own my own business. This is the most common answer that I get from them, which I think is great. I want to take care of my moms. I want to be able to get my mom a house. I want to be able to move my family out to do. So the kids, and that's not all of them, but I'm saying the kids I talk to, they keep making dumb decisions because they're still involved in this gang thing. They still don't mind, but they have some sort of a vision. Don't know what to call it. So I'm amazed at, like, for instance, I guarantee you some kids in that group that shot up the kids at Northeast, I bet they just went because they had went with the boys. Their boys was going to something I got to do. And so is it the definition of manhood that contributes to it? Because, we talked about toxic masculinity and we talked about different things. Is that it? Because, that ties into the whole thing about you disrespecting me and I'm a man because I'm a man, I got to do this. So is that part of the problem?
I think one thing you said that kind of just sticks out, just I guess I'm questioning is like, man, do our youth have a vision and what does that look like for them? Like, even the idea is saying like, oh yeah, I want to get my mom a house and do this and that, like, but by what means? What does that look like?
Well, but that's the problem because even when I do workshop for adults, how many want to be successful? Everybody raise their hand. Mm-hmm. How many, what does that mean? I want to be rich. How are you going to be rich? I don't know. So I get that from adults too, though. I get that from adults too, or how many of you want to be happy? They're there, what does happiness mean? Everybody look at each other. Mm-hmm. Or they say stuff that really, well, I'm going to get a woman. No, you can't be dependent on some woman to create your happiness or something or somebody. So I agree with you 200%. So, but the thing is, how, and we on the second half almost, how do we turn the tide? How do we begin to make a difference? Because I do have some theories, but because I guess we'll never understand how we got here. I think everybody said something that was some truth in it.
I mean, because it's just like even thinking about when you were growing up to now. Like, do you feel like it was just as violent, like with youth and kids, or like as it is today?
I gotta be careful.
Taking it to that extreme.
I gotta be careful what I say here, though. But part of it, no, because people misconstrue what I say, and I gotta make sure I keep my clearances. When I was growing up, we knew there were going to be consequences for our bad choices. That was not a debate. It wasn't a debate. Whether you had a single mom, whether you had no mom, whoever your guardian was, the majority of people I knew and understood there were going to be consequences for the choices we made. Whether it was in school, whether it was in a neighborhood, we knew that.
Yeah.
Now, then you make the choice, do you want to deal with the consequences? I feel like now there are no consequences. I feel like now, like I told you in one school, they call principal by his first name. They have. I'm not going to call what it is because people know what I'm talking about. Kids walking around, whatever, doing whatever.
That's what we made that point. And lack of leadership in adults.
In this, I run after school program. Look at the school program where they say you can't suspend the kid, no matter what they do. Come on. So a kid mugged a staff member, we can't do anything. A girl. So I'm just saying. So this contributes to it because you're saying now these kids can do whatever they want to do, and they get to stay in the program, no consequences.
And then I feel like that kind of is a learned behavior right there that you kind of carry on to adulthood.
Of course you do.
Yeah, and I think maybe people are just kind of overlooking that. And thinking like, oh no, this is small, or this is school, or like, no, it's very much like a pattern.
But seeds are always small.
Yes.
And like, it was funny because there's 3 takeaways I got from the barbershop yesterday. There were 3 takeaways I got from it. One, how when you start talking about life and death, how people change. The one dude wasn't saying anything. Remember, he was sitting there, they weren't saying a word, and then he started getting more information. This generation doesn't do that. And the age was different, but the more information people got, the more they got engaged in the conversation, and it changed. The second thing that came out of it was that that we don't see enough of that people of color get together and just have a conversation. And because somebody brought it up, we're not talking about basketball, football. We ain't talking about women. We ain't complaining about our husbands, wives or whatever they do. We just having a general conversation about something relevant. You don't see these kids don't see those images. Because to your point, when you turn on TV, the rappers fighting, they don't see it. But I think the third thing to me that really stood out to me in that conversation was that's the first time in a long time that I've been in a room and people were talking about generational impact.
Yeah.
When people were concerned about not just me now, but what's going to happen down the line. And our kids don't talk like that. They don't talk about, like, I know my parents knew it's supposed to be better for your kids than it was for you. I don't hear that.
You know what? And like with you saying that, I think that is really prevalent in our community is the lack of thinking about generations in advance or like how it impacts the next generation or even like the people around you. Because it just made me think the only thing we talk about is generational wealth.
Yep.
Don't even know how to get it. It's just a buzzword for people to say and try to chase and do. But you don't hear them talk about breaking generational curses or building type of like just family traditions and building those things generationally. Like we don't talk about just, again, like how my decisions potentially could impact Mackenzie, my nephew, or kids, and
for
stuff
me,
like that.
And also acknowledge that so many of these young parents, I get it. You 100% right. But here I go. Now, this is me on the other side. I guess I'm taking his place today. My issue is, at what point do we stop identifying the problem and come up with solutions? Everything we're talking about, we just didn't talk about today. Everything we put down on the table has been floating around for a long time since I've been this, but nothing is ever done.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't feel like it's talked about enough.
But it's talked about enough about something that can be done. Every election time it comes up, and somebody out there,
You mentioned this early on. They talking about TikTok.
Yeah. No, but
we talk about all different kinds of things.
But we drive them. My point is, we drive this. We have these conversations. I've been in rooms where they talked about it. Oh yeah, we want to get to fun, but they don't because we just let it go. We get so caught up in. You got more people concerned if their kid gonna go to the prom, man. What they gonna wear to the prom? How much money I'm
spending the college tuition for a prom?
But more than graduation.
Yeah.
So
he's not graduating. He gotta go to summer
school.
I
get back to what I'm. But when do we start pushing the envelope? When do we start saying that enough is enough? Hey, you politician, you just ain't gonna come around every 4 years, every 2 years. This is what I need to see. I need to see you at least trying to put forth some legislation that's going to help. I'm not a fan of TikTok. Don't get me wrong. But I'm more concerned about the gun violence than I'm about TikTok.
I would definitely say it's on the politicians, but I feel like it's on a lot of these people that also put that message out of negativity and violence. One, they have to stop and also tell the truth. That's the one thing I like about, Wallow from Gillian Wallow. That's one thing I like about him is he has this series called Stories from Behind the Cell. Sometimes it is funny. But when you really read between the lines, like he's
serious.
talking some serious
But
stuff.
I'm okay. I think humor is good. I think everything shouldn't be, because people don't get it. I
He
think
tells them a reality.
I think that's good. But my
This is
point
not fun.
is we gotta stop saying politicians, because we've had this conversation and we know a lot of them. I'm saying most of them, they're getting paid by the very people. So they're not gonna, until we put pressure on them, because we just keep voting for them, they're not gonna change. We've been waiting for politicians to change stuff for decades. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So my point is, when do we start putting pressure on them to see these changes? For instance, I say this all the time. Most schools are just like prison. You walk in most of these schools now, it's lights, dull painted, dim lights, you got the metal detector, you got armed police, you got bars in the window, they gotta wear the uniform. There's no bright colors, nothing to stimulate them. No air conditioning or whatever the heat have, but you tell them to learn. And you tell them in the same breath, we care about you. But you don't. You just like mom and dad. If I got that kind of jacked up family, they say they care about me too, but yet I'm not getting dinner, I'm not getting lunch, I don't get money. So I mean, those are things that we have to demand now and stop saying, come on, man. Could you consider? No, guess what? You're not getting my vote. Me and every person in my neighborhood, we ain't voting for you next time.
So I mean, like to me, and just kind of hearing all of those things, it's on our community,
of course,
to really impact and drive the change that we want to and need to see.
It's going to start there.
And it's like, but I guess at what point do enough of us feel it's that important? Because even just thinking about the countless parents that you see on TV after their children have been taken by gun violence. I mean, It's been enough of them where they can come together and start to really push and make some change. Or even on the other side of that, if your child or somebody has committed a crime, why is it not important enough for you to get out there?
The problem is a lot of them are trying, and I don't mean any disrespect, but it's a bunch of females. If 100 black females show up, get 100 black guys. That's a whole different ballgame. You get 100 black males to show up somewhere, that's a different ballgame. That's a whole different ballgame. Like, I'm working on something now, and I'm definitely going to give Gary a call and won't even participate. We're going to go into a school, and we're going to have circles. And in the circles, we're going to mix it up with adults, and we just going to rap with some of these young people. We're going to rap about, I got some questions, we're going to talk about life, we're going to talk about choices, consequences, because we know, and everybody here agreed, lack of parity, lack of positive, we know all that. But how do we change it? How do we at least give them some information to start considering something different? Because if you have no alternative information to go to, you're going to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's no reason to change. And so my point is, and I'm at my space now is, I'm challenging people. I'm about to go to this convention, man. And it's going to be a bunch of brothers. And I said it in my devotion. I don't know if you read it. I know you said it all. But we got to stop gathering just for social gatherings and disguising it. Or we say we gather to take care of stuff, but it's a social gathering. That's all it is. Yeah. We go to these things, we hear a bunch of stuff, and we all go back home and do nothing.
I think one thing that you said, a couple of things out of that is, one, providing alternatives.
Yeah, you have to.
And then two, being consistent. Like, I think that is certainly an issue or a problem in our community. Is the consistency. Yeah. It's hot for a second or a minute, and then it dies down and tapers off until it's the next problem.
Well, think about it, Chris. How long ago did I have them enough shirts?
Mm-hmm.
And they're still relevant. Yeah, and it's probably more relevant than it was when I came out with it.
Yeah.
Were you even born yet, Devin? Or you was a little kid?
He was a kid.
But that's my point. And it's still relevant. So, but meantime, all these other things have changed. The dropout rate has changed. Teen pregnancy has changed. All this other stuff around society is changing, except this one thing. Every other social pathology is moving some direction or other. This one thing continues to be steady, and it mostly impacts our community. So at what point do we get angry enough to say enough is enough? At what point do we get to a point and say, you know what, man, we got to stop this? And I'm not saying go into the school and tackle people and break up fights. And I knew Gary's going to come through because he's been away before. But I'm talking about, get off your dusty rusty. Stop complaining. And I'm getting on everybody. And I know people get upset. I'm tired of turning on YouTube and pastors preaching about the youth. Politicians, the youth. All you hear, but nobody's doing anything. If I get invited to one more workshop,
yeah. I mean, the politicians do it.
We have a workshop.
They talk about it just enough to get voted and get in office. And
but when do we get angry, man? When do we get to a point where we say that Yeah, because if you know what, that's another way you show your love for something. You want to show these kids you care. Get angry about the things that's taking them out.
Yeah.
You know, don't be sitting here saying, well, you know, get angry about some of the stuff that's taken. We're not in just like the situation about not doing with being able to suspend kids. For me, it's personal because we're teaching these little black boys early on in middle school and elementary school that there's no consequences.
Right.
You can do whatever you want to do, and because you black, and because you come from an impoverished neighborhood, oh no, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Stupid is stupid no matter what zip code you live in. It don't change.
I'm hoping this doesn't take us too far off track, but we got 10 minutes left, and I just had this kind of question or thought earlier. We're just looking at
Gary, I got you, man.
Some of the kids in violence. Like I said, there was a story of this 13-year-old kid shooting this man in the chest. Like, do you think at any point like that, I guess parents will start being held accountable for the actions of their kids?
Well, it's funny because I'm going to tell you what's weighed me on that. I used to be like, nah, because there are good parents out there. But the last young man for the mass shooting, you know, I forget where it was. The day of the mass shooting, that morning, he's sitting in the principal's office with the school psychologist, a social worker.
That was that white woman,
both his parents, and they're talking about these pictures of death and stuff he's showing, and everybody thought that was okay. Mm-hmm. And his mom actually got on TV. No, she blamed the dad bought him the gun. She kind of put it off. But my whole point was, you saw the signs. So yeah, in that case, you need to be held accountable. Mm.
Or ignoring the signs.
Yeah, but that's my point. So, but the problem is we don't get angry, man. We get angry about the wrong stuff. More people get angry about the way Jalen Hurts played last year.
But I think to the point that you made about like in schools where they scared to punish these kids. I think the same thing is happening at home. Like these parents are either just, I don't know if they scared to punish the kids, or they want to be the cool parent, or just ignore it, like, oh, not my child.
I think it's a combination of all those things. I do think, because I've had parents tell me there's nothing I can do with it.
That's
why I stopped coaching. I have parents tell me there's nothing I can do with it. And I'm talking about middle school kids. I ain't talking about high school 6'6". I'm talking about middle school kids.
Which is crazy. I've changed kids' like attitudes and mindsets in my experience with coaching. You know what I mean? Like just hearing and seeing how they interact with their parents, and then like just the changes, you know, actually taking the time to talk to them and explain things. You've
been with me. Your mom has been with me. I've had guys I did workshops for in jail. We used to go in the Acme, and every time I went there, and it was guy in shop, right? Yo, I remember you. So you can. You can, but you got to invest in people. In order to invest in people, you have to give your time. You got to make sacrifices. We want all this stuff to change, but we don't like, and I'm tired of people telling me, yo, we got to pray about it. Faith without works is dead, man. How many more of our kids going to die? While we over here having these, you know, little prayer meetings, whatever.
No action.
Yeah, we don't. You know, my thing is, we need to start going up. Like I went to one, and I'm gonna start starting some. I went to one 2 years ago, and when I went to a charter school, public schools don't typically have it. They welcome the kids back to school. It was like 50 black men out there, and you know, in suits or whatever. Just when the kids came in, you got to get back to that, and that's no risk. We ain't telling you to get out there and tackle nobody and frisk nobody. There's no risk. You know,
are you saying the first day of school or all year?
Yeah, I think it needs to be. Well, I mean, you can't do it all year because it's kind of hard to
do it in shifts
because people fall off. So you know, and you don't want.
That's what happens in a lot of things.
But that's why you got to do strategically, because you don't want the kids seeing people fall off. Because now it's like I told you so. So my thing is, if I got 100 guys to say, and I'm going to do it. If I got 100 guys to say, look, I'm with you. Like my goal now is to get 100 guys to go, because I'm doing stuff in Norristown, doing stuff in Cheltenham. Is just get 100 guys to say, yo, I'm ready. Whether I can come do a career day like we did at Career Cafe, you know, or I'll go into a circle like Gary said, you know, just and be positive. You know, so it's different ways you can get involved. You may come the first day of school and say, I can be out there to greet the kids, but guess what? Maybe I can't. But check this out. Maybe during the school year, 100 guys walking around the building, just having a presence. Because a lot of these folks, some of these guys ain't seen dad. They don't know what that looked like.
Or like the men or figure that they see is like a peer or somebody a couple years older than them. And that's why kids are followers.
How you telling somebody grow up and be a man? We don't have a definition of what a man is. Or, and I'm not, and I don't care at this point. You got people who don't look like us trying to tell people in our culture how to be a black man. It don't work. I see it where I'm at now, where you'll be like we were joking, but I wasn't joking. We were talking about, I got spanked. And we were having the conversation. Minority was having a conversation about this, and my grandma used to send us to get our own switch. You get the switch and they pull the green beans off, and if you got one too small, you had to go back and get another. And somebody walked past like we were making it up. Oh yeah, y'all had to walk up the hill to school and up the hill home. No, this is real life for some. So you don't even understand the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But you're responsible for young black boys.
That's a whole nother issue too.
They didn't even see fit to celebrate Martin King's Day. Didn't see the significance of Martin King's Day. But you're responsible for young black boys. That's part of the problem, man. We got and we stand by and watch it. We allow this to happen over and over and over and over again. Somebody sent me a snippet from a commercial, not some show, and I gotta find the show. The mom walks in the barbershop with her son. She says, "Yo, who's Diamond?" So from all you looking at it, you think it's gonna be a fight. You think it's gonna be a fight. So everybody look around like, "Yo." So he stands up and says, and he says his real name. Can I help you? She said, oh, you the one that's going to teach my son how to box and take him down to the... She said, yeah. She said, I just came to thank you so much. Oh.
That's a commercial or a TV show?
It's a TV show.
His power.
That's what it was from.
Tommy.
We were just talking about
so
and it had a positive part on it.
Somebody sent it to me, and I was like, yo, I didn't know it was power. I probably wouldn't watch it. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, but we need more people to say, yo, I'm there. We need more people to say, yo, I want to get involved. I don't have to do this.
And then the next scene, you had to work on the block.
But I have this conversation all the time. I don't have to do this. Just like I didn't have to go there and share my story about prostate cancer yesterday. But at some point, man, we got to be willing to invest in our community. At some point, we got to start investing in each other, in our kids, in our communities, in our schools. We have to. Instead of sitting here waiting and begging for someone else to come, we waiting for Martin Luther King, the next Malcolm X to come in, or we think some politician is going to get in and be the great dope and save everybody. No.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think we kind of touched on it tonight. Yeah. I just feel like our community is very misguided in a lot of ways. Our youth. We definitely...
Society as a whole. I mean, we're talking about our community because it impacts us.
Because it impacts us.
But society as a whole.
Society as a whole. Is definitely in general. I mean, I guess I say our community and our youth because it means a lot more to me. It does to me too. When I hear people say stuff that impacts black boys, I'm thinking to myself, yo, because that's the same dude you're going to be bum rushing to lock up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The same guy you making all these excuses for when he's a little boy, he's going to grow into a grown man, and now you want to lock him up.
And that's nobody talks about those things, like
almost
this.
Like it's on purpose.
Well, see, we're gonna go over with this one because I do see. I got my conspiracy theorist hat on. I do think it's on purpose. I think just
the lack of funding in the schools, the lack of programs they don't give you.
But that's all stuff that's all stuff the government can control.
Yeah.
That ain't stuff that that's
and
stuff.
Redlining and stuff like that impacts where the money and funding
people
goes to.
People control that. This ain't something like, whether your kid is learning or not, but giving your kid the resources, that's controlled by a group of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know these schools don't have air conditioning. They know these schools dealing with asbestos. They know some of these schools got mold.
But then we sending trillions of dollars to Ukraine.
And I'm not against, I told your mom this morning, I'm not against that at all. But we got people in this country, man, who need a leg up, who just need a little bit of assistance. And if you want to see poverty go down, put some money in education.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? I mean, I hate kind of quoting this guy because he's clearly lost his mind. But Orlando Brown, he made some good points. Like, why does America not look like Dubai or like Russia and some of these other countries that they're like pristine and they're always building these things? And we're supposed to be one of the greatest powers and have all of this money and finance, but yet our communities, it's no
because
they don't want us to have it.
Because we don't understand the true definition of freedom. We think freedom means you have the right to do whatever you want to do. Freedom, you have the rights, but with those rights come responsibilities. Yeah. I was listening to something from Tupac.
We have the right to do what they allow us to do.
I was laughing because I had this thing from Tupac. I was watching this thing from Tupac. I'm not a big Tupac fan, but this is crazy how people like him were so far ahead of their time.
He was kind of smart.
And because he was crying. And it's because he was saying how, he wasn't crying because of what people think. He was crying because he said it hurt. He said he was having this conversation because he had $5,000 in his pocket, and he saw a homeless person. So he gave a homeless person a couple $100. So people were like, yo, why'd you do that? You could just, he says, first of all, I would feel so bad knowing I got $5,000 in my pocket and I'm giving dude $1. And then he said, and he was crying because he said, I don't understand, because he wasn't picking on him. He says, yo, these people earn their money the right way. But you got people like Michael Jackson, read all these people who got 5 and 6 houses when you got people that don't have one house.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are buying your product or buying your record to support you. Mm-hmm. And he was going to say, and that, you know how long ago that was. But the problem is we're still addressing those issues today.
Yeah.
You know, you like, we're going to put more jobs out there. But if folk ain't educated, they can't get the jobs. So that's like the dumb everybody. Oh, we got to create. Yeah, you creating jobs, but folk ain't educated to get the jobs. Mm-hmm. So they got to get the same jobs. And so I'm going to get smashed for this. But they Walmart, supermarkets. You can't say you want to.
They're not even picking up trades.
Because my point is, if you want a Benz or you want something with 22s and you want to live in a certain neighborhood, Walmart and ShopRite ain't going to do that for you. Right. So you need to get an education, and it's not happening. And the problem is, I do think it's on purpose.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
I do think it's on purpose. But we got to start. We got to stop, man. And for me, I get passionate about it because, and I know this weekend I'm gonna get in trouble because I got a whole bunch of brothers that I'm gonna have access to this weekend, man. I got a captive board.
Well, bring me because I feel like I agree.
Just like that barbershop when we were in the barbershop having these conversations with those guys, right? You know, there wasn't nobody in there cursing. There wasn't nobody in there, you know, bashing us about it. Was a positive conversation. Even when the camera was off and the tape, it was all positive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, it was laughing. And we don't know the other guy who had prostate cancer. You know, I've seen him do it my entire life.
Right. Yeah.
He bought his son, I bought my son.
Yeah.
But that's the whole fight. He had his son, I had my son.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the stuff that we got to expose. Like, you know, we got to expose to. Like, I would love to have a session in the barbershop. Get some young boys that's in the barbershop. Let's cut it up. But I got dates for schools coming up. So anybody's interested, hit me up. I got y'all. But we need to have a presence, man. I'm throwing basketball clinic at Pinell. There ain't no men in there helping them out, man.
And, you know, another thing he's talking about with the barbershop, it reminded me of this documentary that I can't think of the exact name or location. It's a barber. He started a school and it's specifically aimed or targeted at young men to get them off the street and get them a skill and give them a trade. And like, I mean, haircuts ain't going nowhere. We forever going to get and need some of those.
Man, they get people charging $50. Right, $50 a cut.
I was talking about taking some classes the other day after.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, yo,
but that's my point. Why not have that in a high school? I went to Dobbins and so did Wayne. Why not offer that to kids? Okay, you in trouble. We trying to find your way. Let's learn a trade so you can hustle, get some money. Mm-hmm. You know, let me teach you something. Why not bring that back? And it doesn't have to be a trade school. You can have a cosmetology class or bring a barber into a regular high school and say, we're going to do free haircuts once a month. But in order to get the free haircut, this is some of the stuff you got to do. You can do that. And I'm not Joe Genius, so I know other people can think of this stuff. It's not just me.
I mean, we really just started that on the spot a little bit. So,
bring somebody in. You know, you got these lucrative. Chick-fil-A makes so much money off this community. Yo, have a Chick-fil-A one day a month. Come in there, man, and teach these kids how to fill a job up.
But I
teach kids how to interview. Do that.
We don't make enough demands of the people who come in and make money off our community and the politicians. I think we just kind of fall in line and allow for them to do whatever it is that they want to do. Like, think about when they were talking about building the Sixers stadium downtown, which they still gonna move forward with, but how that the Asian community came and rallied to put a halt or at least slow things down on that. Our community really doesn't do much of anything like that. So I think that
Sharif said it yesterday.
Is key.
We'll have all these conversations in the barbershop, but then we go out and don't vote, or stuff happen right down the street from us. So, but I mean, we have to. And I know I'm going to be an agitator, and I'm okay with that. We got to start making some noise, man. We got to start, we got to start, man, raising Cain. We got to start screaming from rooftops. We got to start advocating for our youth. You know what? I agree with people who say all of them not going to come. But even if you get a third of them, that's a third of a next generation that you've impacted because their kids are going to be impacted. That's what we got to start thinking. It didn't get like this in one day. It took time to get like this. It didn't get like this. I believe in spirits all stuff, but this is not just spirit. This is laziness on mankind because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. The spirit, people, you got 4 families out there. That ain't no spirit. That's you being trifling. And you ain't going to pray it out of nobody.
Nah.
Some of these kids that I talk to, man, it's not a spirit. They don't know any different. You can't be what you don't know. And we come up with all these things. They honestly, some of these kids just don't know.
Yeah.
Because they hear the phrase, if I'm a toxic masculinity or too much testosterone. I mean, they
But
hear
you know
that
what?
constantly.
That makes you more susceptible to be a follower.
I'm agreeing. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because
honestly
if we're not going to Chris, if we're not saying this is what like I run after school for I'm part of school at Canal, and I'm doing basketball with them. This ain't about basketball. Because I mean, frankly, I've never seen so many kids that couldn't play in one place one time in my entire life. That's a little sidebar. And I had to change my whole strategy because this is about teaching these guys about teamwork, about teaching these guys about not quitting, about teaching these guys to have confidence, man. And when stuff knock you down, this is how I'm going to respond. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
I don't care if they never learn how to make a layup, but understand passing the ball. Understand the strategy of taking your time to dribble the ball, the patience of not just picking the ball up and running. Understand that when you get frustrated that, I got to keep going, not quit. Understand that I shouldn't be making fun of my teammates because, they did something worse than me. Understand that, that I have to look out for somebody else. I've been on teams that weren't that good that we won chips. I've been on teams we were good and we sucked. Because we never got because the teams that we were good, everybody knew they were good and nobody's willing to sacrifice their game.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be the point guard. Everybody wanted to be the shooting guard. Nobody wanted to be the rebound and the defender. So, we were scoring a bunch of points. We was giving up a bunch of points. And people knew it. People knew if they made 3 passes, they wouldn't get a layup against us. Because everybody's going to be trying to leak out and get a fast break.
Been on a team like that.
Yeah, but we have to, as men, as black men, as African-American men, I beg you, I implore you, whatever you want to say, we have to find some way to get involved. We have to find some way to get engaged with these kids. And I'm not saying everybody is not equipped to go into a school, but we can play a role. Like I was talking to a group of brothers. I said, you know what? Do a video. Do a video. I said, you know what? For you not this close, we get in the classroom, let's do a Zoom call.
Yeah. Do something.
Well, if I can, I don't need you to preach. I don't need you to go in there and preach and anybody help. This is about building a relationship. Because if you build a relationship, they will see those qualities and they will begin to pursue them for themselves. That's the name of the game. Whether it's church, whether it's business, you want to enhance people. You want to inspire people. You want to encourage people. You want to give them the tools to get it for themselves, not because of you. And that's not going to happen unless we get back in the trenches, man, unless we start getting involved, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through just being present.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a great point, too, is there's so many ways to get involved and be a presence, It doesn't have to be, if going into school is not your thing, you don't got the time for that, do something after school. Do something on a weekend.
Gary made a comment about libraries.
So many different things you can do.
I don't know if you remember growing up, Gary, they had programs at the library. You could go to library and have a program. Okay, why don't a group of men get together and say, we got 100 men, we're going to be at the library on Saturday. No risk. You ain't out there.
Because ain't nobody going there.
But that's the problem. Just say, we got 100 men and we're going to show up at the library every Saturday. I have this thing called the gathering.
I think we need to take them to the library.
But see, you can't. You got to challenge, brother. See, that's the problem. You take people and they fall off. You want people that want to be there. If they don't come on their own, then that's okay.
When we used to do
fine.
Saturday Youth Alive, we would take
fine.
a bus and we would go pick those kids.
But you're talking about kids that was different. You talking about
that's
kids
what I'm talking about.
who had no way. Oh, I was talking about adults.
I know.
I was talking about men.
The men we could get there. I'm talking about the kids.
But you start with 100 men. You start with 100 men and say, all you single moms out there that's looking for mentors, whatever, we're going to be at the library on this Saturday. We ain't taking your kid nowhere. We ain't doing, everybody's going to be fully vetted. Everybody's going to, and even if you bring your kid down, we're going to read to them. We got 100 men. We're going to be at the library on Saturday.
So we need to make them read.
No,
but you got to teach. You got to lead. A lot of kids don't read because they can't read. So you got to make them comfortable.
Empower them.
You got to make them comfortable by leading by example. But I just thought of that. I ain't in the room making $200,000. I just thought of that. That's stuff like that you can do. Let's meet that library. All you single moms out there who can't find mentors, whatever, meet us at the library. Just like the event we have at the Discovery Center every year. I can't get people to come out there. And it's free. They come out there, the apparatus is free, they get free lunch. We had and I can't get people to bring their kids out there.
That's what I'm saying.
But they'll complain. No, but I got men. Men will show up. So I'm saying, no, you keep saying TikTok.
I'm talking about the kids.
I'm not talking about the kids. You start with men first and say, we're going to be at the library every Saturday. You a single mom out there, you want to bring your kid down to the library. That's how you start.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the point I make, I guess we got to get more men to show up and see what happens.
You do, because
personally, I think we gotta get more on these superintendents and these principals. To really invest in these kids. Stop treating them as more of a benchmark or a quota to try to get more money for the school, if that makes sense.
But then again, that's much higher than the superintendents, and that comes from above. That Department of Education that says, hey, 60% of your kids, can't fail. Not let's get help for the 60% of kids to make sure. And what happens is they get further and further behind. So superintendents and assistant superintendents and principals, I don't know how much leeway they have, but they just follow the chain because their job's on the line.
Yeah.
Their job's on the line. So again, it goes back. We have to start, I think a lot of times we forget the people who make decisions and we beat up on the people that's right in front of us because it's convenient.
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes to, one, people probably not really understanding and knowing, like, checks and balances, like who's responsible for what. And I think sometimes we get kind of lost in all the things that they put in front of us that kind of like make you overlook. Like, I think the one thing that stands out to me is like when it's like the big debate on bathrooms. Like, oh my goodness, like, we talking about TikTok. Like you said, I think we have more prevalent issues that they just kind of throw all these other things and divide us in so many different directions where
it's a bunch of grown people not impacted by what we're talking about, the social value, talking about something that one of them is irritated about. And I'm not a TikTok fan at all. But if I had to put a list of things up that we need to take care of, TikTok ain't top of my list.
Nope. And even that is like a business thing because they talking about either it needs to be sold to a U.S. company, which means that it would still be running in the manner in which it does.
They just want control over it at the end of the day.
So look how they cleaned up Facebook. I mean,
and that too. Like, you still got Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all these.
I think,
X.
And I know we got to close. We'll be all night. I just think we have to get back. There has to be a call of action. Mm-hmm. There has to be a point where, put up. Politicians need to put money in the pot. We need money because we need to be able to run some effective mentoring programs out of libraries, out of rec centers. I go back to the Fisher Park basketball league we had. And I got the picture over on the wall. I got it. And I think about that all the time, man. And you probably don't, you were back and forth to school, but Chris was a part of, it took us, a week to put that together? How many kids did we touch?
And then we even had like I think what was really special about that was how the community was involved. You had people, fathers that were there, like they want to coach teams.
Just to get a t-shirt.
Right. We had people who was quote unquote like local drug dealers.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't recommend that now, but we did.
But
we had to get his permission to use the court.
But still, like, I mean, having him there and doing something positive for a period of time.
Yep. Never had an incident the whole summer.
It meant everything.
Never had an incident the whole summer.
Right. It allowed for us to go smooth because now his attention isn't on doing the negative things.
And he didn't miss a game. He didn't miss a game.
He was there supporting the kids, like cheering them on. Like, so I think like it. Having the community involved in something, it can certainly like begin to bring us together in a way, and like I think not writing people off like in terms of saying, "Well, we can't." We got to.
I wrote about that in my devotion today. That we and now I'm gonna pick on church people. We are quick to write people off. We're quick to write people off because they don't believe what we believe. Mm-hmm. We're quick to write people off because they don't look like we think they should look. We're quick to write people off because they disagree with us, and it's not biblically based. And I talked about the day the story, and Joshua Rehab was a harlot. She was a hooker, whatever they call a hoe, whatever they would call it today.
Jezebel.
And Joshua, Joshua's spies was in the city, and she hid them. And she hid them in their house. Now, I'm saying it because some of us church folk, we wouldn't have went in the house. Even though we know that's going to protect, I ain't going in with her. What she does. What does she do? She's one of them. We do that to people instead of saying, let me show this folk some love because that's going to touch this person's heart. Yeah. That'll help people change. These very kids, and we're not going to get all of them, but I'm telling you, I go and I sit down and I talk to them. And I the first couple of weeks, it's only been a couple of weeks, I'm amazed because they're looking me in the eye. They give me her they're saying thank you. I'm like, and even the person working, she said the same thing. We're looking like, wow, that's not what I anticipated. And I'm not saying everyone is going to be like that, but so far. And I know I'm not going to get all of them. If I can get a couple of them, you can start to stymie this and you can start to build up momentum. You can actually start a movement and not just a name only. Mm-hmm. See, we got to get past the stage of, and this is my pet peeve, We got to get past the stage of just saying, "Oh, we had 1,000 men show up." But what are you doing? Y'all showed up. You had a great conference. Y'all had a great time. Y'all talked about it. Then everybody went home and nothing changed.
They just got
Everybody
together,
went back
together,
home.
had a good time.
And I can't wait the next year.
Oh yeah, I met that person.
Yeah, I can't wait the next year. But we go back to the same communities, the same poor education, the same divorce rate, the same dropout rate, the same pregnancy rate, the same murder rate. None of that changes, but we had a good time for whatever time we spent together. At what point do we get angry and say enough is enough? Yeah. At what point do we say, you know what, that's no longer acceptable?
Yeah, I think that's a good segue here for us to kind of move towards closing things out, because I think it is at that point of frustration of where is enough? And it really is on us as a community to come together and start kind of generating and demanding some change, whether that's from our politicians, the people that we put in these positions to kind of make some of these decisions.
They challenge them.
Yes.
We got to challenge them.
Us as a community, holding each other accountable and actually being there and being present and having communication and talking to the kids and the youth.
If you out there, I would love to get Mary Jo Park on this show. And the reason why I say it because people were giving her grief because she's talking about year-round school. She's talking about sending after school programs 1 year round. Now, there's things that need to go to make that work. But those same people have all these years to come up with solutions, and they haven't come up with none.
Yeah.
But yet you're attacking somebody who, whether you agree or disagree, at least are trying to come up with some solutions. So instead of you coming to the table and say, well, hey, maybe that won't work, or maybe this will work, you just talking about that ain't going to work.
That's crazy. Year-round school, how about we substitute some of that schooling with skills?
But that's why other people have to come to the table, because she's operating on a wheelhouse that she's comfortable, that she has knowledge of. Yeah. So if I don't put other people around me,
ain't been doing well.
Yeah, but see, Chris, that's why you got to have other people at the table, because you know things that I don't know. You experience things that he don't know. You got to have other folk at the table.
But you know what, though? So there's a documentary out there called Shoot Basketball is Not People. It's about a program here in Philadelphia where they work with kids in regards to giving basketball as a way out, get them on the streets. And one of the key points or issues that they were having is they have such success, but they're going to government officials to get back in and support, and they're not willing to do it. So I think there are people that want to come to the table, but it's the people who are in those positions aren't walking them.
Well, what has to happen is, and that's what I'm talking about. If you got an organization like that, why not get 300 black men to go down to City Hall somewhere and show their support? You ain't going out in the street. Nobody asked you to get in the corner. Nobody asked you to coach. Let's go. Well, let's get some buses and go down to Harrisburg and go and walk around the Capitol to different state senators' office. You can do that. You can do that. They do it for daycare. They do it for education. We can do that. You can get buses of African American men to go down there, and we're going to walk around Harrisburg and we're going to lobby until something gets done. You can do that. You ain't got to coach, to your point. You ain't got to coach basketball. You don't have to get involved in the organization, but you can go down and support that organization through lobbying against your local politician, whoever he or she is. Yeah. Those things we can do. And there's one day you giving up one day out of your busy life.
And I think that comes to us holding each other accountable.
I am. That's my new thing. My thing is I'm challenging everybody. So y'all think you know me, you're going to be challenged.
Thank you, guys. Shout out to Light Bright here. I see you on Podbean. Aloha. What's up? I'm assuming you're calling in from Hawaii or watching us. I wish I was there.
Can we do a show from Hawaii?
Mr. Garrett, thank you, for tuning in and dropping your comments throughout the show. Certainly appreciate you guys. And another great episode. I feel like we put out a lot of great ideas, had a conversation that needed to be had. But next, it's us being about action.
Yep.
So, again, thank you all for tuning in to Above Average Black Men. Dev, drop your lines.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us.
Yes.
A-squared-BM.
Make sure you're out here empower, inspire, uplift the community. Take care, everybody. Good night.